Welcome to another poetry deep dive today. I love Denis Martindale.
He has written over 3,700 poems for the Poem Hunter website. This time, Denis Martindale has written a brand new nature study poem. At about 6 o'clock in the morning, just as the day was dawning, the poet is almost wide awake yet again. What will happen in his nature study today, he wondered. Well, first of all, he spotted a pigeon perched on a telegraph pole, fluffy and comfy at first. Everything changed when another pigeon landed on a nearby rooftop. Even so, the highlight of the nature study was the sudden appearance of Cyril the Squirrel. Hence the poet's excited choice for the poem's title, Cyril the Squirrel is Back in Town. Here is what the brand new poem's message shares with us today.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Part 1. A Dawn Nature Study.
You know, it's absolutely fascinating how Denis Martindale structures these early morning observations. This isn't just some casual, sleepy glance out the window, right? It's literally a full-fledged, multi-act play unfolding right in his neighborhood, way before most of us have even smelled our morning coffee. We actually get to see how a seemingly simple 6 a.m. observation rolls out chronologically into this delightful garden drama. It starts off super quiet with our first pigeon, builds up all this hilarious tension with a rejected romance and a bossy newcomer, and then, boom, right when you think the morning routine is completely settled, Cyril the Squirrel makes his grand entrance. Let's walk through exactly how this plays out, step by step.
So that brings us to part 2, the Great Pigeon Drama.
Before our main star even hits the stage, Martindale sets everything up with these initial bird characters to kick off the morning's events. And the poem starts out so peacefully. The poet is just gazing out into a street and spots a single pigeon perched right up on a telegraph pole. Now at this point, our pigeon friend is totally content just hanging out there on the pole. Martindale describes him as being so fluffy and so sweet, just a perfectly serene, quiet start to the day.
But as we all know, nature is rarely static for very long. Our first pigeon suddenly spots another one swooping onto a nearby roof, and he immediately shoots his shot, making his feelings crystal clear by bowing low to prove his romantic intentions. But oh man, unfortunately for him, he gets swiftly and utterly rejected. The other pigeon pays absolutely zero heed. She completely leaves him hanging, clearly having no time to chat, no time to breed, and honestly, no time at all to spare. And to make matters worse, a brand new bossy pigeon swoops in right after, forcing our first hopeful, romantic pigeon to abandon his spot entirely. Poof, absolutely no more chance to bill and coo.
Martindale uses this brilliant, subtle humor to build the scene here, noting that the pigeon's, quote, life hit the skids. It just perfectly showcases the poet's delightful use of anthropomorphism. Our bereft first pigeon, completely defeated in love and having just lost his prime piece of real estate, retreats all the way down to a nearby pole right above the dustbin lids. He's definitely no longer ambitious for love's goal. It's just a hilarious, strangely relatable little morning tragedy playing out right there on the street.
Which sets us up perfectly for part 3, Cyril re-enters the scene.
Literally, just as the defeated pigeon departs, the entire energy of the poem shifts gears. A sudden movement nearby catches the poet's eye, and his attention is completely stolen. Why? Because Cyril the Squirrel is back in town. I mean, you can practically feel the excitement jumping off the page as Martindale describes spotting him. Suddenly, this little creature is darting along the garden walls with his tail flicking wildly up and down. All that pigeon drama? Instantly forgotten, as the poet wonders just how many magical minutes Cyril is going to stick around this time.
Martindale maps out Cyril's rapid, parkour-like acrobatics step by step for us, and it is a blast. First, he darts right along the garden wall. Next, he locks eyes with the nearby pole and effortlessly leaps the gap. Then, he ascends the pole completely vertically, without slipping even once. Finally, he suddenly swerves around and clambers right back down toward the dustbins, clearly bound for some new destination. The poet is so captivated by this wild acrobatic routine that he practically gives him a round of applause right there in the window. These words perfectly capture the sheer, kinetic energy of Cyril's movements as he ascends, quote, 3 feet, 4 feet, and maybe more without a single fall, pulsating tail and all. And as he bounds down the gatepost vertically, Martindale playfully points out that he moves exactly like a giant mouse. It's just this incredible burst of absolute, vibrant energy smacking right into the middle of a quiet, sleepy dawn.
And that brings us to our final act, Part 4, A Poet's Joyful Wish.
Of course, as with all truly great, spontaneous moments in nature, they just don't last forever. The poem touches so beautifully on the poignant, fleeting nature of this little visit. Martindale writes, "I always miss him when he's gone. It really makes me sad." And man, that is such a genuine, relatable sentiment, isn't it?
You get this wonderful, unexpected glimpse of the wild, and then, poof, it vanishes. But there's a really grounded, realistic acceptance here, too. He notes that life just carried on, exactly like it always had. The magic happened, the curtain fell, and the world just kept on turning.
Yet despite that, the poem absolutely does not end on a melancholy note. Instead, we get this incredibly joyful resolution. Martindale leaves us with the most endearing wish. He says he'd actually love to see 2 squirrels come by. 2 Cyrils would be nice. And why? So that he could thank God twice. I love that. It perfectly encapsulates the immense gratitude and just pure, unadulterated joy he gets from these simple, everyday nature studies.
So, what's the ultimate takeaway here? I think it boils down to this one question. Are we taking the time to notice the squirrels in our own backyards? Denis Martindale found romance, comedy, drama, and literal breathtaking acrobatics just by looking out his window at 6 in the morning. It really makes you wonder what incredible nature studies are happening right outside your very own window, just waiting for you to look up and notice them. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, and hey, keep your eyes peeled for your own local squirrels.